Good evening, chaps, and welcome back to Glazed, our dwarf fortress we've been working on, and this is episode 4 of the series. So apologies, it's been a little bit of a break. We had a rather nice long Easter weekend here in the UK, so I hope you guys who are also in the UK enjoyed that as much as I did, and I hope you're all well, whether you are enjoying the bank holidays or not at the moment. So looking at the main entrance here, this is up on the ground surface, so the actual main entrance to the fort, if you remember, will be below, but this is the little first entrance we made. You might recognise a few changes already. So if we start off here, just put a couple of very basic stonefall traps in place. So the problem is with the fortress design that we're going for, is because it takes so long to get the main fortress established underground, you can leave yourself a little bit exposed. So just put 6 traps down here. And I'm going to apologise because I know they're not symmetrical, so I hope that doesn't bother anyone too much. And you might notice up here, there's a trail of dwarfs coming up here, so we've actually just had another set of migrants arrive. So although I've taken a few days off, the dwarfs have been busy working away. So if we have a look now, we've actually got a population of 34, up from what I believe was 8 last time, although I know we just had our first wave. And you'll notice I still haven't got a broker, so we still don't have much detailed information. A record keeper, which would improve that, so I do apologise because that's a little bit criminal at this stage. So coming back to the fort, a couple of things I wanted to just touch on from earlier episodes. So I mentioned before where the mason, so this is the mason workshop here, where the mason we watched come along here and then up to the workshop carrying a stone. And I wasn't sure why that was the case, so I still don't really have the answer to that. I don't know why the pathfinding is taking him down the corridor and underground there. So I said I wasn't sure if the workshops maybe had a certain entrance and exit for dwarfs, but I didn't think they did. So that isn't the case. It doesn't matter which way the workshop faces, you can definitely enter and exit from any angle, which is what I thought. I still don't really know why the dwarf was going all the way around there, but what I actually ended up doing was, third time lucky, so you press Q basically, which is the building button in many ways. If you go onto the stone stockpile itself, if you just set that to give to that particular workshop, so in this case we press G, just move it down so it's over the workshop itself, press enter, press done. So you can see there, give Mason's workshop, which had already been designated. So that just means that stockpile itself will feed that Mason's workshop. So that workshop should only get its resources from that stockpile now. So we're going to use this later in the game to control the flow of different items and resources through our fortress, particularly as they get processed at different stages. Because some of the industries in this game take multiple processing steps, it's a good way to control the flow of material through the fortress to keep things moving. It's also quite useful because you can limit which materials a particular workshop can use. So if you wanted to set, say, all the beds or all the tables in a room to a particular colour, then you just limit that stockpile to the particular stone you want, and then you know that you're going to get a production line almost of that particular material, which can be quite useful. So you may notice over here as well, we'll just come out of that, all this red stuff, so that is blood, I'm afraid, and if you look up in the top right hand corner you can see a spattering of elephant blood. So we do have elephants roaming the surface on this particular map, and if we go into the report tab, which you just press R for, hit enter, you can see an elephant's fighting. So this shows you the log, incredibly detailed. If you've played this game very much, or to be honest even not that much at all, it still amazes me the level of detail. So you can see here, basically this is an elephant getting hunted by one of our hunters with a crossbow, and they're only using wood bolts, which isn't ideal at all. So you can see how many bolts it's taking here, and it has knocked the elephant out eventually, but you can see hits the left front leg or tears a tendon, bruises the muscle. It's an incredible amount of detail, which is one of the things that I think makes this game so great. So if we zoom to the location, we're actually in the bottom right of the map now, I believe. Is that correct? Yeah. So we're up a couple of Z levels, so you can see what the tops of the trees look like, which I still think is really cool. And then if we come in down here, we can see 2 elephants, and that's actually one of the Marks Dwarfs. So he's flushing, which can be an indication they're injured, but in this case it's actually because he's now a legendary Marks Dwarf, which is quite nice. So it's going to be quite an accurate, quite a deadly hunter, and also a legendary archer. So hopefully that might be a good way for us to train up a few Marks Dwarfs for the military. So I haven't got the military set up yet, but that'll definitely be something we'll be looking to get done, particularly as the wealth in our fortress builds up. That increases your chances of getting a goblin siege or something like that. So if we have a look at these elephants now, these poor elephants, you can see that it's sustained quite a bit of damage there, and then this one here even more so. See the left ear and the trunk are red. So we are hunting some elephants, which obviously would be absolutely terrible in real life, but in Dwarf Fortress it's somewhat necessary to produce food, and also gives us a supply of bone which can be used. So you see there's a stray horse, camel skeleton. So I did slaughter a few of the animals we brought with us, and a couple of animals that the migrants brought with us as well, because I haven't got a pasture set up. So a pasture is like a field, and the animals will stay within it, and if they stray from it, basically the dwarfs will take them back inside it, and then they'll just graze there until they're of such an age that you either kill them or you can try and breed them. So nothing too much else has changed up here. If we go across to the river, so I wasn't originally sure what all this brown stuff was, but it's willow fruit, so it looks like all the trees have started dropping fruit, and also I think, no, it looks like it is mainly fruit, but I thought that was quite cool. Reflects the seasons, I suppose. So if we go down a level, so you can't see this from the surface, so this is actually like a little cave system, very shallow cave system surrounding this river, and you might notice a couple of bits and bobs going on here. So if I bring up the cursor, so we've got a silverstone floodgate there, another slate floodgate there, and that's an up-down stairway, which would come out there, but we need a down stairway there. So we're not actually going to bring that up to the surface, that comes up from below, and if we look here, that's open space, and below, and below, and that's the staircase going down there. So this staircase is like our service access staircase, and then this is like basically a sinkhole, goes quite deep, and then that's where the access corridor itself is. So we're down at -8 now, so if we bring that back up, so these 2 floodgates are actually connected to levers within the fortress, and what we'll do is if we channel out either, say, that tile or that tile, then that water will actually start to flood into here. We'll flick the lever, which will retract this floodgate, and then this will actually fill up with water. So we're going to want to probably build another floodgate, maybe here, just as a stopgap, but we can always turn it back off at the lever. And this is going to be the system that lets us irrigate the farming setup that we started in the previous episode. So that circular system we started working on with the idea was that it would have an organic design. This is how we're going to pump the water down. I say pump, it will just be gravity. So we'll siphon some water off this river and it will go down, and that will be probably where we get all the water that we use inside the fortress. So a number of the things we could use it for are moats. So we will be, on our main entrance, we will be lining that with water. So if I just take you down, you can see that there's been some more work here. So it's a little bit more difficult to visualise, I think, once this has been mined out. But this will all be channelled out eventually. And we'll just be left with this 4-wide bridge going along here, a bit like Khazad-dûm in Lord of the Rings, if you guys are familiar with that. So we'll probably fill this up with water to start with, and then hopefully eventually something a little bit more dangerous. But moats are used for water, irrigation for growing crops, obviously, so we'll try and grow a host of different crops down deep in the fortress. And then once you reach the cavern layer, so you have to actually expose one of them, which we haven't done yet. Once you've done that, once you've irrigated the ground, you can also grow grass and tower caps, which are effectively massive toadstools or mushrooms that count as trees. So you can have an underground tree farm, which means it's a lot safer than the top surface basically. But you can also start to, when I mentioned pastures earlier, you can start to pasture your animals underground, which is quite nice. So eventually we'll have farms, we'll have wood coming from underground, and we'll also have an area to keep and breed animals. And that just starts to give you a really good base with which to build quite a rich and diverse food supply for your dwarves. So you can make different levels of meals at the kitchen in this game, and basically they have different varieties of ingredients, but the more the variety in your fortress, the more chance there is of a dwarf eating something that it particularly enjoys. So it's really beneficial to have a whole range of different foods so that your dwarves have got more chance of eating something they really like. So, adequate miner here, legendary miner. So we did only have one miner previously, so that probably gives you a clue that I've got a basic smithing setup further down in the fortress. So we've made a second pickaxe. We've obviously got quite a lot of digging and channeling to do to try and make the main fortress serviceable and usable. So to speed that up, made another pickaxe, and we've now got 2 miners on the go. Although now that we're up to, now that we're up to 34 dwarfs in our fortress, guys, I think we might actually be looking to get a 3rd miner up and going just to really speed things along. And then there's our other hunter, so another legendary Marksdwarf, which is quite nice, and also a legendary archer. And then conveniently positioned over here, keyboard mashing. So this is one of our farmers who's also been given the butcher labour and dwarf therapist. So the blue writing in the top right hand corner there, that's the current job, butcher an animal. And you can see flashing there, he's carrying an elephant. So the dwarves are hunting the elephants up on the surface, the butcher's going to bring it down. And now if we come down into the actual fortress, we've started to dig out our first workshop level. So you can see the basic design here. It's going to be symmetrical, so it will come up here as well, and it sort of narrows as you get further from this central position here. And then going up and down floors will also start to have stockpiles. So I mentioned how I wasn't super familiar with wheelbarrows and also minecarts, so still haven't got going on minecarts at all in this fortress, but from what I've been seeing with wheelbarrows, so we've got a couple down here, I actually quite like the way they've implemented it, I think. So before, in previous versions of Dwarf Fortress that I used to play quite a bit, dwarves could carry big lumps of stone as easily as they could carry, say, a spade, or say a spade, they wouldn't actually, no, I guess they would, say like a piece of wood, or a meal, or a plump helmet. So the actual weight didn't make that much difference, whereas now, I noticed if you watch this mason even just pop down here to grab a stone, when he starts to carry it back, the pace at which he carries it is basically a crawl, and it really does hit your industry quite hard, having such a slow speed. So I think it's quite clever the way they've implemented that. So this is actually quite a bad setup, I mean, really. So if we had a little stockpile here set up to give to the workshop, in fact if I just do it now, not change the designation. So if we change that to stone with the S key, drop it down, and then we'll go on here and we'll do what I pointed out earlier. So we'll press G there, come down, and give to the mason's workshop. So that mason will now get his stone from that particular stockpile. And then if we come up to come up to the stockpile and use the Q button again. If you look on this right hand side here, there's now this extra setting here under W, max wheelbarrow. So you can tweak that, 0, 1, 2, 3. So this one here's got 3. They do take up storage spaces, which is worth bearing in mind when you've got a little one like this. But we'll just leave that at 1 for now. And what that'll mean is that dwarf has way less distance to cover, dragging a big stone along, so it should speed things up. So in terms of workshops, if we just give you guys a rundown so you're up to speed with what we've done: carpenters, masons, crafts dwarfs. So you can see I've got a few bone bolt labours queued up there. Now we've just started to get some hunting done. We can make bone bolts. So basically in this game you've got bone bolts, wooden bolts, and you've also got metal bolts, and obviously there's a range of different metals. So if you create wooden or metal bolts, you get 25 in a single stack that you craft, whereas if you create bone bolts you're only going to get 5 at a time. So if you noticed earlier, it took a rather large amount of wooden bolts to bring that elephant down, and it was still up and going. But they're obviously relatively cheap to make, and you do get 25 in a stack, whereas these 3 tasks combined will only give us 3 sets of 5, which will be 15 bone bolts. So that's one of the negatives. But bone bolts, you'd be amazed what you can get done. So in previous Dwarf Fortress games, I've actually, you can fight off goblin invasions with just bone bolt equipped Marks Dwarfs quite happily, to be honest, particularly if the goblins aren't in a position to fire back at you, which can be quite nice. And then, of course, metal's the best material. Although the metals do have different properties, so you have different sharpnesses, and I want to say different impact as well, but I'm not sure I've quite hit the nail on the head there. So here's a wood furnace. So this is one of the first steps in the smithing industry, or can be one of the first steps. So this is where if I add a new task, you can make ash or charcoal. So for the smithing industry, in our case, we'd be making charcoal, and then smelter, so smelt magnetite ore. So in Dwarf Fortress there's a number of different ores which all contain iron ore, or all are effectively different iron ores. So you've got magnetite, hematite, and there's another one as well. So we've got quite an abundance of magnetite here, and I believe magnetite's one of the better ones to find because it comes in larger veins when you're actually mining. So chances are if you find magnetite you're going to have quite a large quantity of it. So then you can either smelt that into ore, or if you've got fluxstone as well, that's how you make steel. So you smelt the magnetite, and then you also use fluxstone. That leads you to end up with steel in essence, which is a superior metal to iron. So for something like the pick that I mentioned earlier, to get that second miner up and going, we basically just made charcoal, smelted magnetite ore into an iron ore block, and then from that made the pickaxe. So this is where that dwarf carrying the elephant's going, down to the butcher's workshop. Metalsmith's forge. So here you can make a whole host of different things. Metal is really versatile, particularly if you've got a smith. So we got quite lucky in our first wave of migrants. We did actually get a relatively skilled smith. So let me just see if I can locate. Here we go, Melbil Dokirith, I don't know how you pronounce that, blacksmith. I've been well recently, so there you go. A short sturdy creature fond of drink and industry. I love it when it says that. So if we go to, okay, down in the bedroom there. So a dabbling weaponsmith. So by no means a hugely skilled smith, and you can see an adequate metalsmith, although ironically quite rusty, which I do find a bit funny seeing as we're only really using iron ore at the moment. So we do need to obviously keep them fresh, and you can just see while we're down here how the bedroom layer is developed. We've got a whole host of different rooms set up now, and you can see the difference in the material does make a visual difference. So for example, if we look up here, these rambutan, I don't know if that's wood or stone, but it's quite dark, whereas here siltstone, a lot lighter. So you can spend time trying to make these things look uniform, which probably would give you a better finish overall. So we might try and correct that later on, but for now this is the first of the bedroom layer, all built out, and dwarves have started to claim them, which is nice. You can see the farmers claimed that bed for themselves. So at the moment we've just got the bed and the door. We still need to get them a container so they can store some of their personal possessions, because that's quite handy. And we've still got some empty rooms down the bottom here, which we'll be looking to get filled up with some of these new migrants, I'd imagine. So coming up through the fortress now. So this is the farming level I alluded to. We can see the last of the channel designations there. So that's actually where the water pipe is going to come down from way up on the surface that we took a look at earlier, and then that'll get channeled down here, and then using those levers will control the flow so that we can selectively flood this big plot here and possibly some of these as well. So if you look down here and you're wondering what's going on, why are you storing all this stone? So what we're going to do here, guys, is we're going to get all this stone in this stockpile. See a wheelbarrow going on there, and then we need to get this cleared out. So I don't know for a fact that it's still the case in this version, but whenever I've played Dwarf Fortress in the past, if you have if you have stone left on a tile, for example here, if you irrigated that now, all of these stones would leave dry patches, which isn't a huge deal when we've got this much space, but it just goes back to that thing where we're going to have little empty spots when we go to put our farm plots, and we can't be having that because the inner OCD will come out, as I'm sure you're all aware. So that's the farming level coming along. We're slowly getting there. We still need to irrigate it, and then we can move that farming setup down from the surface, and really that's our main focus at this point, just moving that surface early setup down underground where it's safe, and we can really get the fort going. Here's that first workshop level. Still got some workshops to get dug out, but I've left them cut off at the moment, so the miners aren't working on them, as we've got more than enough space to expand the industry. For now, these are the 3 levers that connect up to those floodgates I showed you guys, the irrigation system. So normally it's best to put them near the congregation point, but we only have that one up on the surface, which I think is a bit exposed, so it's down here in the industry level. Right, so this is new since the last episode, guys. I'm trying something completely new here, which I saw online, I think on Dwarf Fortress Reddit again, so shout out to those guys, who I always find really helpful. So this is a series of upstairs. We've got the corridor, and then we've got this sort of square design with some pillars cut out. And then if we go up one, up downstairs, up one more, downstairs, and then you can see my rather crude label, pub. So this is going to be our pub. It's going to be the beating heart of the fortress. It's where everyone's going to go to get their grub. They're going to go for a pint at the end of the day when they finish their jobs, and hopefully not in the mornings, although I know what dwarfs are like, so they'll probably be there all day. Hopefully we'll get some musicians and some performers come and stay. So this bit that I've actually designated out, this is going to be the open part of our pub, guys. So this is going to have the dance floor, and that's going to go up through 3 stories. That's all going to be open plan with these pillars, really just for the visual aspect, supporting the roof. And then to the right here, on these 3 stories, we're going to have the food and booze supplies, of course, which is where the tavern keeper will be, keeping an eye on everyone. Then we'll have some rooms for people to stay, and then on the 3rd floor we'll have some more rooms, and maybe something like a balcony, which we might extend out, so I'm not entirely sure how that's going to look at the moment, guys, but this is how we've got it designated out, so let me know what you think. And I'm trying this technique where you do upstairs at the top, up down in the middle, and then downstairs at the bottom, and the idea is it stops any risk of any cave-ins or any dwarfs getting trapped whilst they're channeling it out. So I'm intrigued to see if it works. I've never tried it before. We'll see how that goes, guys. And you can see this is the service corridor to that irrigation service stairway, and then irrigation channel, and we all know what that's for now. Cool. Keep going up, and we're back to the entrance of the fort. So I feel like we're making some good progress now, guys. Sorry it took a little while to get this video out, but I just wanted to give you an update of where things were with the fortress. This was just going to be an overview, show how things are going, show some of the new dwarfs we've got, some of the industry we've got set up, just talk through some of the things we saw in previous episodes. I wanted to clarify a few bits and bobs I wasn't sure about, so hopefully that's happened. And then what I propose is to probably end this video here, so we're all up to speed now, and then I'm going to try and crack straight on, and the next video we're going to let the game run. We'll do some work on the fortress together, so you guys can see how things are progressing with all the busy little dwarfs, and hopefully we'll start to move things down underground and really get the main fortress established, which I'm pretty excited for, because I'm hoping we've got some good designs in there that will start to come to fruition. So something I haven't started on yet, just quickly, before I shoot off, guys, obviously we've still got to set up our defences, which are going to be in here. This is where the barracks is going to be. It's going to be overlooking this narrow Khazad-dûm type bridgeway here, so anything that tries to attack the fortress is just going to get caught in a crossfire. It's going to get peppered with crossbow bolts, and then we're going to have these two sections of walls here with dwarfs manning them as well. So that's something to start thinking about, I suppose. I think we probably will need 3 miners, guys, because we've got so much digging to do. The pub, for example, is 3 Z levels, and that's just what we've got designated at the moment. So let me know. I think we're going to need that 3rd miner. Probably going to get that pickaxe going pretty soon. Yeah. So hopefully you're all caught up now, guys. Sorry it's taken so long to get this video out. Just wanted to talk through how it was all going. The dwarfs have all been busy just because I've been away and not recording, which I am sorry for. So if you like the video, please do comment. Let me know any feedback, any suggestions. If you've seen me do anything that seems utterly ridiculous, please do let me know, because I love hearing how to do these things a bit better. And of course, if you do want to keep up to speed with how our fortress is growing and developing, guys, I think it's getting pretty good, pretty exciting soon, hopefully, then by all means do hit that subscribe button if you want to support the channel. Cheers, guys.